Welcome to Last Week in Film, your weekly show recapping the previous Monday to Sunday in film. Starting off with some film news, this week AMC just announced that they will be implementing 50% off Wednesdays. They already have 50% off Tuesdays, but now they're just trying to motivate people to go to the theaters even more during the week, and these 50% off Wednesdays can be a huge help to that. 50% off Tuesdays have really increased the amount of people going to the cinema. This week, Mubi was also listed to be worth $1 billion, which is a really big deal, as this is a very niche streaming platform for cinephiles, showing that cinephilia is really worth a lot of money in terms of business, and that companies can make a genuine profit. They just had their hit The Substance last year. They just bought Die My Love, which is the Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson, Lynn Ramsey film that just premiered at Cannes this week, and we're going to talk about that pretty soon. So this is just really exciting, and also kind of a FU to Netflix a little bit, showing that the streaming model works, where a streaming service releases its bigger movies to theaters as a sort of marketing tactic for those films before they go back to the streaming service itself. On a more silly note, Max has finally decided to rebrand back to HBO Max, putting the HBO back in its HBO Max like it should have been this whole time, because HBO is a really valuable brand, and for whatever reason, when David Zaslav took over, he was like, yeah, let's cut the HBO out. One of the most valuable TV just platforms out there. Let's cut it out of our brand name. And also this week, Marvel has officially decided to change their release schedule. So now we will just be seeing 1 to 2 live action shows per year. You're not going to be bombarded by these live action Marvel shows. You're going to be seeing up to 3 movies. So no more than 3 movies, but also possibly less than 3 movies. And you saw how that worked out last year, where they just had Deadpool and Wolverine, and that was a huge hit. And then you're also going to see 2 animated shows, which I think is great. They just had their Spider-Man show, they have the Marvel Zombie show coming up, X-Men 97 was a hit, What If was just a really solid, steady show that went on for 3 seasons, but the 3rd season was apparently way worse than the first 2, which is fine, it is what it is. But overall, Marvel Animation has been really solid, and they are going to continue to grow that. But this is a really big change, because before 2024, where we just saw Deadpool and Wolverine as the only Marvel movie that came out, they were putting out a lot. They were averaging between 2021 and 2023, 3 shows a year, and 3.3 movies. They were also averaging 2/3 of an animated show a year at that point. They were still building up the Marvel animation side of things, but discounting that, just focusing on the fact that live action TV and film was just a huge, oversaturated market for Marvel. You were seeing over 6 combined movies and shows a year, which is just way too much, and that is the problem that has made, phase 4 and 5 really hard to keep up for Marvel fans, myself included. Also, as many of you know, right now the Cannes Film Festival is ongoing, and as always, the stars are there. Some really big movies have already premiered, and some more big movies are still yet to premiere, like Highest to Lowest, Alpha, Sentimental Value, and so many more just really prolific films that I'm so excited to hear about. It's really interesting now to look at it from an onlooker's perspective from the outside and kind of try to guess, who could win the Palme d'Or? Which of these films that have already premiered could possibly be an Oscar film? So here are just 5 films that have already premiered that I think have a shot at the Palme, even if it's a super, super slight shot. And then also some of these films I think could have a chance at the Oscars, which we will get to. So first off, in our bottom tier, we have 2 Prosecutors and Die My Love. Now in tier 2, we have The Sound of Falling and New Wave. So New Wave is the Richard Linklater film that is a biopic on Jean-Luc Godard and how he made Breathless. And it seems like a really solid, crowd-pleasing type of film. If you are interested in the French New Wave, you're probably going to love this movie. It's a love letter to the French New Wave. It's actually in French, which I think is really, really neat. And I'm very excited to check it out. Personally, though, I think it might just be a little too crowd-pleasy from what I'm hearing and just a bit predictable and safe to win the Palme d'Or. However, of all the films that have premiered at Cannes so far, I think that New Wave actually might have the best chance at the Oscars. So I am looking for this film to win some sort of award at Cannes. Not the Palme, but maybe a directing award for Linklater, or an acting award for somebody, or even a writing or cinematography or some sort of Cannes award, just to show that it was well received. And then you also have The Sound of Falling. The Sound of Falling, I feel kind of iffy about. Really, I feel iffy about most of the films except my number one in terms of winning the Palme. And The Sound of Falling, it's just been received really well, and it's considered, or not really well, it's been received pretty well, but it's considered just this really massive movie just in terms of scale. And although not everyone who's seen this film like absolutely adores it, people respect and acknowledge the grand scale of it. For our number one movie, we have Sirat, and Sirat is this film that takes place in the Sahara Desert as a father and his son try to find their daughter, I believe, or the father's daughter, at a music festival in the desert. And it's just apparently this amazing film with a great techno score. And I mean, I love me a good techno score. I'm gonna be so real there. I know that's like a film bro-y thing to say, but like, come on, please. I plead with you. I have a weakness, and that is a really good techno film score or good techno tracks in films. Thank you, baby girl, for giving me some of that. Anyways, I digress. This film is just supposed to be great, and it seems like just the standout film at the festival so far, the kind of film that, you know, people genuinely love, and that passion tends to be a really big deal at Cannes. Look at The Substance, which won an award there. Nora had a lot of passion behind it. Emilia Perez had a lot of passion behind it. Sometimes you'll see movies like Grand Tour last year that didn't really have a lot of passion behind it, but then still get the Best Director award. Like, that does happen. But typically the films with a lot of passion behind them get awarded, and I do expect Sirat to get something. Now, going back to your local cinema rather than your Cannes Film Festival cinema, you had two pretty major films premiere that you could find really at your most local cinema, those being Final Destination Bloodlines and Hurry Up Tomorrow. Clearly, Final Destination Bloodlines was the film of the week, making over $50 million, having some rave reviews, and just overall being a really fun film that I personally like way better than Hurry Up Tomorrow. Hurry Up Tomorrow is an interesting movie. I still do believe that it's probably the most interesting movie of the year, just in terms of like the story behind it. It's very megalopolis-y, you know, just with its production and the way some people really like it, but it really didn't make that much money. And most people don't think it's all that good, but the people who really like it, you know, and that's great for those people. So quickly shifting to the box office, I don't want to linger on the box office too long because, you know, the box office isn't the focus of this whole show, but, you know, you can't talk about a week in movies without talking about the box office a little bit. So like I said before, Final Destination made over $50 million. That is awesome. Thunderbolts is at number 2 with 16.5, but Sinners with a little over 15 is just behind it, and this will probably be the final week of Thunderbolts leading Sinners, and Sinners will probably take back that lead despite losing the IMAX screens that it did regain for this weekend to Mission Impossible. Sinners, it is unparalleled in terms of how it's doing. I can't think of a movie to come out in recent memory that is holding just as great as Sinners is, and despite the fact that what you would think is competition coming out, you know, Final Destination is another horror movie, and yet Sinners is holding the same like steady percentage fall that it's been holding this whole box office run, like within that range, which is really incredible. While Thunderbolts, I highly doubt will hold like Sinners is against horror competition, against big blockbuster action competition like Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And then I also just wanted to acknowledge Friendship, the little A24 comedy with Paul Rudd, that in 60 theaters has made over $1 million this weekend, which is really incredible. I can't wait to see this movie at some point when it's playing in a theater near me, which doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon because A24 is doing a very slow, wide release of this movie, but maybe, with how successful it's doing in these 60 theaters, they will expedite that wide release a little bit, which would be great for people like me who really want to see this movie but don't have a theater anywhere near them that's playing it. You also had 7 notable movie trailers come out this week, so here is my little ranking of them. Bad Guys 2 just falling at last because I haven't seen Bad Guys 1, so I just don't really know what they are talking about in this trailer at all. Nobody 2 just kind of gave the full movie away, I thought, in its trailer, like, unfortunately. Americana looks like a really interesting movie with Sydney Sweeney, but also gave a lot away in the trailer. Then F1 right in the middle. To me, same issue, just gave away way too much. I feel like I know exactly what's going to happen in this movie, but my God, does it look really good, and I'm still very excited to see this movie, but I do feel like I just know exactly what's going to happen in it. At one point, F1 was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and unfortunately, I don't even think it's my most anticipated movie of June anymore, because I just feel like I've seen this story before and know exactly what's going to happen in this movie, and I still can't wait to watch it, but I feel like there's not going to be much to actually discover beyond what I've been told in these trailers, which to me is really unfortunate. Ballerina, on the other hand, really surprised me with its trailer, and it looks really good, and I trust the John Wick franchise that, you know, it's not giving away all the best action in the trailer, and that there's going to be a lot of really exciting stuff to see in this film. And I actually already have my early access screening ticket for Ballerina. I'm pretty excited for this, and Keanu's going to be back, and it's going to be great, and Chad Stahelski directed some of this action, so I might even be, at this point, more excited for Ballerina than F1, which is something I never thought I would say. At 2, I got Superman. You know, that trailer was really solid. I really loved the interview with Lois and Clark. You know, it just looks really great, and the chemistry between those two is on fire. But you know what is so great about this trailer? It's not giving the plot away at all. I don't know what is really going on in this movie, aside from the fact that Superman stopped a war in a foreign country and America is mad about it. That's all I really know for certain in terms of this plot. You know, we've seen clips of things in the trailers, and you can kind of piece things together, but in terms of like what the trailer is like really directly telling you, it's not telling you a lot, which really excites me. And I am a little worried, and the reason why this isn't at number 1 is because it almost seems like this is going to be an overstuffed movie. I don't know how they are cramming this much into one movie in terms of all of these other characters who are going to show up in the Superman movie, and I'm a little worried that we are just not going to have like the full focus on Superman, and I really, really hope I'm wrong. But my number 1 is Bring Her Back. A24 just knocked it out of the park with this trailer, and in my opinion, with the marketing for this movie. These trailers have been super short, but they are terrifying, and I don't know what to expect. And this movie seems so different from Talk to Me, which is the other movie from the Filippo brothers that A24 distributed. So yeah, I just can't wait. I think this might be like, you know, the movie of the month, possibly. You know, like of May. So I cannot wait. I really, really hope it is the Scream Unseen coming out tomorrow for me, or tonight for all of you who are watching, or maybe that already came out if you're watching after Monday. So who knows, maybe you know already whether or not that Scream Unseen was Bring Her Back, but I really hope it is, because I cannot wait for this movie. Coming up this weekend, we have 4 really exciting movies. Obviously, the 2 big ones that you all probably know about, Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch, getting released in theaters. Could be some record-breaking box office numbers for Memorial Day weekend. We will just have to wait and see. But this is a very interesting double feature that I will be partaking in this week, and I am like kind of iffy about it. Now that I've seen the Mission Impossible reviews, like not being super, super great, but I love Mission Impossible. I'm currently in a binge of the whole franchise right now, and it's great. But then on streaming, you also have an interesting duo of Netflix's Fear Street Prom Queen. I don't know how they plan on continuing the Fear Street franchise. I'm trying to actually go into this movie blind. I haven't watched any of the trailers, so I'm excited for it. I really did enjoy the Fear Street trilogy that we got a few years ago, so this could be a lot of fun. And then we have Apple TV's Guy Ritchie, John Krasinski, Natalie Portman film that should really be a theatrical release, Fountain of Youth, where you might have already guessed it based on the title. John Krasinski and Natalie Portman go to find the Fountain of Youth. With that all being said, thank you so much for tuning in. If you were still here at the end of this video, I really appreciate it. This is my first time doing this Last Week in Film series, I guess you can call it, and I'm very excited to continue it. I hope to eventually make this a live stream instead of a pre-recorded video, just to make it more interactive and fun. I really do want to get a little bit more into live streaming eventually, but I'm just trying to, you know, rebuild on YouTube right now. I took a months-long hiatus while I was doing study abroad, and am now just trying to really dive right back in and figure it would be better to start this as a pre-recorded series before, you know, broadcasting it live. But let me know if you have any suggestions for what I can do to make this better in terms of categories, in terms of things to talk about, or maybe things to not talk about if this feels a little overstuffed. And also just, what was some of your most exciting stuff from this week in film? Was there a particular movie that you saw and really liked? Is there a piece of news that you were really excited about? Please feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to talk about it. And yeah, I will see you all next week for that week in film. Take care.